What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Matt Arroyo Show. And today I'm going to teach you some of the secrets to success. And they're really not secrets, but I just use that word so you'll listen. But this is very basic and common sense. A lot of the stuff I'm going to teach, even in jiu-jitsu, is very basic because the basics always win, the fundamentals. The key to achieving what you want, we'll call it that, because everybody has a different version of success that's going to be their version. I have my version, you have your version. Physique, health, wealth, family life. Everybody has a picture in their head of what a successful one of those looks like. And it could be different for you than it is for me. Maybe one person thinks, $500,000 in your bank account at retirement is a lot. Other people won't be happy unless they have 50 million in there. So it's all relative to how you're thinking and who you're around. But let's talk about this. This is very important. How do you get what it is you want? You see this ideal life. Okay, number one, you have to know what it is you want. If you don't know what it is you want, you're going to drift. You're going to be a drifter around life. You're going to just get things that you get. If you want to be deliberate and you pick every subject of your life, health, wealth, family life, your physique, your fitness, and you decide, okay, this is what I want to look like. I want to be 185 pounds, rock solid. I want to have $5 million in my bank account in investments. I want to have a happy life with my wife, stay married. I want to be a role model to my kids. I want to have great life experiences with them and give them the life that I could have only imagined growing up. And, I want to have a relationship with God where I could trust in him and give him my worries and my whatever that is for you. I just named some of mine. That's great. Knowing what that is, or at least having an idea of what that is first. Because if you're going to take a trip, you got to know two things: where you start, like if you're going to read a map, if you're going to put it in your GPS, whatever you want to call it, you got to know where you are and you got to know where it is you want to go. Now it's that gap, that middle part. That's what most people have a struggle with. A lot of people don't even decide where they want to go. So let's put it that way. So if you do know what you want, you're ahead of the game by at least 80% of people. If you've written it down, like we talked about in other podcasts, if you've written your goal down, you're way ahead. You're at like the 90% level. But let's talk about that gap now and how to get there. So the key is this. This is the secret. This is the technique, the strategy, whatever you want to call this. The concept is this. Remember this forever. You have, whatever you want, you have to grow yourself into the person who deserves what it is you want. It's that simple. You have to grow yourself, your brain, your body, your mind. You have to grow your thinking, self-improvement. You have to grow yourself into the person who actually deserves. And most people say, grow yourself into the person who will attract this. I guess you could say attract, but I'd rather say the person who actually deserves, because if you deserve it, like truly, not just think you deserve it, like a lot of kids today think they deserve everything. But if you truly deserve it, you'll have it, you'll get it, whatever it is. But if you don't have it yet, you do not quite yet deserve it, because you haven't grown yourself into the person that gets to have that. You look around, you see people with things that you want. You see people with the marriage that just, it seems like they never fight, or it seems like they're just always happy. Number one, there's always problems in every marriage. But if you see someone who's been married for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they have cultivated that marriage. They've done things right. They've nurtured it and grown their marriage into what it is today. It wasn't like that their first year, I promise you. If you see someone who is super wealthy, that did not happen overnight either. And don't think, oh, maybe they won the lottery, because those people go broke quicker, in like a year from what you hear, and they're worse off than where they were. They grew that. They grew their mind. They grew their skills. They grew their knowledge. The person who has the greatest job, the greatest business, they had to grow themselves to get to that. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong where you think that this stuff, luck happens. Some luck does happen. Maybe like an opportunity pops up here and there. But these people that I speak of have all grown themselves. How do you grow yourself? That's the next question. If the whole secret to success and having what it is you want is you have to grow yourself into the person that deserves that, then the next question is how do you grow yourself? So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And remember the areas. There's your spirituality, there's your health, physique, and the way you look, and the way your body is running. There's wealth, your finances, your investments. There's family life, your wife, your kids. Okay, so we're going to talk about mainly those areas is what I want you to think about when I'm talking about this. Okay, so for me, the number one way I've grown myself, I guess you could say, grown my brain, my experience, and I'm going to give you a couple different ways, but my number one, because I don't need anybody else's help for this particular one, is reading books and listening to podcasts. Podcasts only came, a couple of years ago for me, but books. I think by the end of this podcast, if you're not convinced that books is probably your missing link, if you're not reading, I'll convince you. This is it right here. Okay. Books. Why does a book help so much? I can read a book from a man or a woman who wrote it 500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10 years ago, people who were alive, who are now dead, who have been through so many experiences, right? So many experiences, and trial and error. Then finally, they started getting some traction, and they started creating some success in certain areas. And then they became one of the best in the world at it. The top 1%, less than 1%. And now they wrote a book about their experience. And I could take that book, a downloaded file from their brain, into this paperback book, and I could take that and I could read it into my brain. And having not going through any of those experiences myself, maybe some of them, but not all of them, I could download that knowledge into my brain like the Matrix, like Neo, the plug in the back of his head, download it into my brain. And now I know this knowledge. Now, I never experienced maybe the things that he's talking about, but I learned the lessons that he learned without having to make my own mistakes. That's the key. I don't want to make my own mistakes, even though they're going to happen. But if I can learn from your mistake or his mistake or her mistake or that book's mistakes, it takes out the time it takes to get to where you want to get to. It takes it off by maybe even half. Books. I read the book. Okay. I listen to the podcast on a particular subject. Let's talk about fitness, right? How to use intermittent fasting, or how to do this or that, these little shortcuts. Now I know it. Okay. That's only one half. Knowing the knowledge isn't where it's at. It's about applying it, right? But reading books and doing what the books say. My wife gets upset with me sometimes because I'll read a book. I'll think some of the ideas are just amazing. And I'll be like, I'm doing this now. Like, I'm implementing this right now. And I implement it, and she notices it. And she's like, why did you do that? It's because I just read this awesome. She's like, let me guess, one of your books? I'm like, yeah. That's why you read books. You don't just read it to be like, oh, that was cool. You read the book. Okay, this is my biggest secret to success I've ever had. I read books. I take the ideas that I like, that I think would help me, and then I do that. I actually implement what it says to do in the book. And I try to implement it fast, right away, because life is busy, life is crazy. And when you move about your day, and you're going to forget. Your brain only has so much bandwidth. You're going to forget. You do it right away. Take notes on it. The things that you like. I have a notepad. I have so many notepads in this iPhone, full of different books, full of different ideas, things. It's insane. I write it down and I do it. I go to the next book. I read it. I liked some of the ideas. Some of them I'm like, I don't think that'll work for me. And maybe it will later when I reread the book. But for me in my time right now, I read it. That's a great idea. I'm going to implement right now. I'm going to do intermittent fasting right now. And in a few months, boom, you get shredded up. I'm going to read this book. Oh, invest in this index fund because slow and steady wins the race. If your investment strategy is sexy, it's probably a bad one. The boring, you read these ideas and you're like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let me try. And you do it. And you get results. When you get that sweet result for the first time, you're like, yes, it gets you addicted. You read another book and maybe on another subject. Spanking your kids. Some people spank, some people put in timeout. You read a book on how to do it a different way. Let me try that. Oh my gosh, he listened to me. It worked. And then you get hooked. And once you get hooked on these, and you got to read the right books. You got to read timeless books. I can give you a whole slew of them, but I'll never forget, my whole book journey started when I was 20 years old, sitting in my uncle's room. He's lifting weights with the dumbbells, and I'm in the room just chilling with him. He's exactly 20 years older than me, Uncle Jim. So he was 40, I was 20, 2 decades apart. And he's like, he asked me if I read. I'm like, no, I don't even like reading. I'm in college. You know, I'm reading subjects I don't even like. He's like, well, try this one. He throws it at me while he's lifting. He's like, just start reading it. I'm like, okay. And I start reading it, and I'm like, what the? I've never read a book like this before. And I start reading, and I couldn't put it down. And he's trying to talk to me. I'm like, dude, let me just keep going. It was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was the first real self-development, whatever you want to call it, improvement book that I've ever read. And luckily it was one of the great ones. I had some good advice from my uncle at the time, and I just devoured it. Literally, I think I finished almost the whole thing that night. I couldn't stop. And that was it for me. I was like, what's the next one? You know, and I started implementing things from that. But reading books, listening to podcasts, implementing what they say to do, getting the results, rinse and repeat. Every time you read a book and do what it says and get a result, you become a different, new, grown, improved version of yourself. Do this over time. Do this each week, each month, each year. And over time, you will be sitting in the life that you've imagined. I'm telling you because I have proof. I'm literally sitting in the life that I've imagined for years. And I'm telling you right now, the huge reason is because of books. Okay, so let's check off books. Boom. Number 2, who are you hanging out with every day, every week, every month, every year? You will become these people. You will become, they say, the 5 people you hang out with the most, you're going to be the average of. So if you're okay with that, keep hanging with the people you're hanging with. If you're not reading books, but you're hanging out with superstars every day, it's even better than books. It's just very hard to do because you have to find these people, and then you have to convince them that you're interesting enough to hang out with, and you're cool enough or whatever it is to hang out with. And then you got to spend lots of time with them and download their thinking. Okay, there's something in our brain called mirror neurons. And when we're around people who we like or who we respect or who we want to be like, or even really anybody, our brains kind of like mirror each other. So you could just, it's almost like an actual download. You're actually downloading the way these people think. So mirror neurons, let them soak in the essence of this person, this superstar. And remember, you're not going to get a superstar who is almighty, whatever, like in every area of life, the areas that I explained: wealth, health, spirituality, family life. Very rarely do they have it all down. So when you're seeking out mentors, if they don't have it in every area, don't worry. Just pick one area that you really want to get knowledge from and download knowledge from, and just think about them in that sense, because sometimes they're not the best husbands or wives. They're not the best father because they're so focused on their business and they're so focused on this and that. Put that to the side. Don't try to be like them or download knowledge from them in that area. Just stay focused on what it is you're trying to learn. But if you can hang out with these people on a consistent basis, weekly, monthly, even monthly is fine. And you, every time you hang with them, you get this energy, you get this knowledge, you know, and you have to be providing value as well, or they're not going to hang with you. And the only other way to hang with those kinds of people without becoming their friends, I highly recommend becoming friends, but if you can't, then you have to pay them. And those are called coaches and mentors, and they're everywhere. Just go online, go to Google and type in mentor and coach for this subject: internet marketing, business, finances, wealth, investments. And you could pay someone monthly to be their friend. I hate to say that's how it is, but they'll teach you everything for that fee. And I did a whole podcast on this, why paying for college sometimes is not as smart as paying a person to just teach you stuff. So hanging out with superstars, that's probably the best thing. But I like books because I can control that almost always. I can just go to the bookstore, grab one, read it on my time, hang out with that person. You're essentially hanging out with that person. You're hanging out with Napoleon Hill. You're hanging out with Robert Kiyosaki and downloading his knowledge without actually being with him. All right, number 3, seminars, content, videos. Okay, so seminars. Pick a subject. There's a seminar on every subject, and almost now, even Tony Robbins is going virtual. Tony Robbins is Unleash the Power Within, the one where you walk on fire. You can't walk on fire virtually, but he has that seminar virtually now. Date with Destiny virtually. Find people you respect and like and want to be like, and in those areas and go to their seminars and learn their stuff. Now you're not only around them, you're around other people just like you. Going to seminars, going to conferences are amazing for you in every way. Yes, some of them are expensive. Yes, some of them are going to require you to leave town and go on a plane and to get a hotel. But I'm telling you, I haven't been to not even one where I didn't pick up some knowledge that helped grow me into who I am today and help me with a particular subject. There's marriage seminars, there's business seminars, investing seminars, how to be a better mom, how to be a better dad. There's religious seminars and spirituality seminars and yoga and lifting. And it's amazing. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry is the information industry. And it's all online now. You don't even have to leave your seat. You can download the videos, buy them. Don't be afraid to spend the money on these videos, on these books, on these coaching programs. This is how you grow yourself into the person that will get what it is you want. This is how you do it. Okay. Number 4, the last way, I believe, is by making your own mistakes. Now, this is a 2-part number 4, because making mistakes does not make you smarter. Think about this, what I'm about to say. Making mistakes and going through life experience does not make you smarter or better or wiser. I'm going to tell you the if in a second, but think about it. How many people do you know who have been through the same bull crap their entire life, and they keep making the same mistake, and you want to freaking squeeze their neck and choke them and say, what are you doing? Stop. That's enough. Why haven't they gotten wiser? All know this. You might even be like this in a particular area. Okay, so let's go back to that sentence I said. Getting life experience and making this same mistakes and making mistakes and moving on with life does not make you wiser and smarter, and it does not grow you unless, if and only if, unless you sit and reflect on what happened and strategically think about it. Give you an example. Person who keeps making the same mistakes, picking the same girls or the same guys that are losers in their relationships. That's a harsh word, but all know those people who pick the wrong people, who are just abusers, and they get cheated on and they get abused mentally and even sometimes physically, and they keep going to the same dude every time. Why? And they do it again and again. So you have to reflect on the mistake. Okay, so pick a mistake you made. Stop. Get in a room by yourself. Get a pen and paper. Reflect. What did I do? Why am I attracting these people? How do I not attract this person again? What can I do? You have to reflect on the mistake. Realize it's a mistake, reflect on it, and then get the proper training or get the proper mindsets that will make it so you don't make that mistake again. That is how you grow. That is how you live and learn from your experiences, not just going through it. I told you guys a story in another podcast about the guy who's been doing air conditioning. No, I'm sorry, an electrician who's been doing it for 30 years. I asked him for a simple job in the gym here. I said, hey, can you move this over here? I want to get a light switch here, this and that. No, we can't do that. Why? I've been doing this 30 years, man. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Okay, cool. You're not the guy for me. I bring in another guy who's only been doing it 4 years. Oh, that's easy. We'll just take a box. We'll put it over here. We'll swing the wire over. I see how it's a little difficult, but you swing it around, and then that's how it works. So once that happens, this kid's been doing it for 4 years, and he thought of a way because he reflects. He does the jobs. He thinks, he problem solves. He thinks. He's a thinker. And he got it done. The other guy, I've been doing it 30 years. I can't do this. I've been doing this for 30 years. There's no way that can happen. You don't want that guy. 30 years, you haven't learned crap. Maybe you learned a little bit here and there, but you didn't reflect on any of your work or try to grow in your art. So that's where we're at, guys. Number 1, you have to grow yourself into the person that deserves the success that you want. It's not going to happen if you're not there yet, mentally, physically, whatever. Books, podcasts, and then do what it says. Hang out with superstars. If you can't hang out with them, become their friends. Make yourself more interesting. Make yourself more valuable, and then come back at them. If you can't do that yet, then you got to pay them as coaches. Hang out with them. Get their mindsets. Become the best at something. Seminars, go to seminars, hang out with these people, be around people just like you, content, videos. There's some great YouTube videos that'll teach you so much stuff. Mindset ones, life experience with reflection. Okay. It's not just life experience. Oh, he's so old and wise. No, unless he reflected on everything he's been through and have grown from it, he's not that wise, or she's not that wise. Okay. So I really hope this helps. You're only going to get what your current self can handle and deserves, which is why lottery winners almost always go broke. They're not ready for it. They haven't grown themselves into someone who has the discipline to control that much money. That's why sometimes these diet fads, they lose weight in 7 days. They lost 16 pounds and 2 days later they put it back on. They haven't grown their mind to be able to keep the disciplines of eating healthy over time. A fence that goes up fast will go down fast. Slow and steady always wins the race. And that's with everything. As much as I hate that quote, I've always hated it, but now I've grown to respect it and love it. And if you can't beat it, join it. And that's what I've done. I try to do that in every area, but that's how you grow yourself. And once you are grown into that person, the results will just come. Jim Rohn says, work harder on yourself than you do in your business. Okay. Work harder on yourself. So what does that mean? It's the 4 things I just said. So let's do that. Go about your life, growing yourself in every area that you want to become better in, and maybe even areas that your family wants you to become better in, even if you don't. Take some advice. Talk to you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And real quick, if you can share this, that would be awesome. If you can share this on Instagram, Facebook. If you like what you're seeing, go to mattarroyo.com. I have some other resources. If you're a grappler, you do jiu-jitsu, I have tons of resources at mattarroyo.com. If you're a gym owner, a school owner, and you want to grow your gym, grow your business, also go to mattarroyo.com, fill in the form, reach out. I can help with that too. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next Matt Arroyo show.